Hi, I'm Meanwhile Games, a hobbyist game developer. I've been working on Codename Projection again, but this time in VR. Uh, because I'm wearing my Vive right now, I can't see my notes, so this video is going to be a little more on the rambling side. Also apologize for the mic quality, I'm just using the built-in Vive microphone to record my voice. If you haven't watched the previous video, the original plan for Codename Projection was I came up with the idea back in the very, very early days of VR, when Vive and room scale VR was very experimental and really Google Cardboard, Oculus without touch controllers, and Gear VR were basically cutting edge. Oh no, the Vive was the cutting edge. That was basically normal VR, and most interaction was done by looking at something and maybe pressing a button on a traditional gamepad or on a dedicated VR remote. This idea of having these motion controllers that could track your hand movement was very new. You couldn't rely on people having it. And so I got to thinking about what a Metroid Prime style exploration game could be like in VR. And I also wanted it to work on desktop gaming as well, just with a mouse and maybe a keyboard, so that everybody could experience it. That was back when I still liked to think I could make full games rather than just prototypes in a reasonable amount of time. And I proved myself wrong, because here we are 3 years later, and I just finished the prototype. And it's obviously no longer relevant. Teleportation isn't strictly necessary in VR anymore, and the hardware is much better. And most of the best VR games are built from the ground up for VR exclusively. One of the central ideas of Codename Projection is this out-of-body sort of visualization. You point somewhere and you see yourself walk to the position. The capsule is supposed to be like a player character or something. In VR, I took that one step further and actually allow you to walk away from your character, and it sort of fades into view, gets more solid, and then it fades out as you walk back into it. Of course, you can't walk very far, so it's not super useful. I originally thought like maybe you could walk around and get a better view of your surroundings, but you can only walk like a few feet. And the other weird thing about porting games to VR is the scale is nothing like you expected, or at least not like I expected. Everything in this game is huge compared to how I originally designed it. Like, this was supposed to be this thing right here. It was supposed to be sort of at eye level. It's actually, and like within reaching distance from here. And like I'm at the edge of my base here. I'm reaching up, and I am nowhere near touching it. Another feature I added for the Vive version is you can select different modes independently with each controller. So that makes sequences like this, where you have to press a button, walk forward, press the button again, and walk forward again, a lot smoother, because you can assign the touch tool to the left controller, the walk tool to the right. It's a little like in some of the Ocarina of Time style Zelda games, where you would assign tools to different buttons. You can switch between them quickly. It also gets interesting when you get your second item here, or the third mode, the charge mode. So a lot of the old code still works. It was pretty straightforward to get it all working in VR. The hardest part um, was this support for having two modes selected at the same time. And actually, it's a little bit of a cheat. You actually only have one mode selected at once. It's just whichever controller you most recently pressed the button on. So I'm gonna go get the charge mode here. I had to fade out that circle as it came to me because otherwise you feel like it's attacking you or something. It still kind of does, but I didn't have any better ideas. The charge mode feels a little weird in VR. It doesn't. I think it could really benefit from some sound effects, maybe a particle effect, kind of showing some impact from the wall. I tried to do that in the mouse controls, but it didn't. It just didn't feel right. So I just left it at you can see sort of a particle effect from where you left. This game, it doesn't, because it was designed or brainstormed so early in the lifespan of VR as a platform, it doesn't really take advantage of what I now view to be the strengths of VR, which is the simulation of presence, like being able to walk around in an environment and touch things and interact with things directly. It's very much a point and click type of game. That said, pointing and clicking does feel pretty good in VR. Oops, oh, good. Okay, I missed it. I have a bit of haptic feedback on the controllers, so you can tell when it snaps to something. It's pretty nice. I think when I started the VR porting process finally just a couple of weeks ago, I think I underestimated how well it would work, even without the direct interaction. So that's about it. You can download the finished prototype, both in mouse and VR forms from itch.io. I'm probably just going to call this one done for now. I don't have any particular exciting ideas for directions I could take this. I'm going to take the lessons learned, maybe try some more VR prototypes someday. But for now, I'll be moving on to something else. Not quite sure what. I might return to Robo Regional. That's the robot sports game I mentioned in the last video. See you next time. Thanks for watching.